Hey friends, today we're here to talk about the best printer for heavy cardstock paper. So let's get into it. Quite a few years ago now, I was searching for the best printer for heavy cardstock paper because I owned a party decorations business and I was dealing with heavy cardstock for my projects. I thought that I could just buy any old cardstock, load it into my printer, and it would print, when in fact, that was not the case. As it turns out, getting a printer that prints on heavy and/or thick cardstock paper is pretty hard to come by. What you'll see when you go to the store or buy paper online is the weight of the paper. It's going to say something like 110 or 130 pound cardstock or 250 or 300 GSM, which stands for grams per square meter. That's just a more standardized way of measuring weight, and it's what a lot of countries outside of the US use. But the truth is, the weight doesn't actually equal the thickness, and printers actually care more about thickness than they do about the weight. So even if a printer says it supports 300 GSM, it might still jam if the paper is too thick, causing mass frustration and likely a lot of cussing if you're anything like me. So you can have two sheets of paper that are both labeled 300 GSM, but one feeds through the printer perfectly and the other one won't even make it past the rollers. And that right there is where most people go wrong when they're trying to choose the right printer. Now, when you're researching printers online, most of them don't actually list thickness in a super obvious way. So what I always recommend is starting with the paper weight that your printer supports. To do this, go online and find your printer or the printer you're thinking of purchasing, and then do a control find and do a search for specification sheet. I have also found it with the term product documentation. This is typically in a PDF form. So when you open that up, you want to locate where it says media weight supported or something similar. And it's going to show you how much weight a paper can be for that printer. But from there, you kind of want to dig one step deeper. You want to look at the printer's specifications under something like paper handling or media types and see if it mentions things like rear feed, manual feed, or maximum paper thickness. If it's not listed, which happens a lot, then you're looking for real-world testing, reviews, videos, or people actually printing on that type of cardstock. And that is what I'm here for. So let's talk about my favorite printer for this kind of heavy or thick cardstock. And that is the Canon Pixma Pro 200S. The number one reason I love it, of course, is because it can print up to 110 pound and even 130 pound cardstock. And when it comes to thickness, it can print very rigid and thick cardstock up to 250 and 300 GSM. Check out some of my other videos where I test out different cardstock paper using this printer so you can see exactly what it's capable of so it matches the project you're working on. But this printer isn't just about printing heavy cardstock. It has a lot of other great features. One of them is that its max paper size is 13 by 19, which is pretty large. So it's great for artists or photographers that want to print really large prints or posters for your home or your customers. This is because of that rear tray that allows you to print very large prints without bending the paper. I love that I never have to get photos printed anymore at professional printers. I can just do it at home and I can have a ton of updated art or photos on my walls as often as I'd like. Another great feature of this printer is that it prints as small as 3.5 by 3.5 inches. This is great for all of you business owners who are selling things like invitations or postcards. You can have very thick professional looking invites printed in a matter of minutes right from your home. The 200S also offers an 8-color dye-based ink system, and because of that, you are going to enjoy rich, vibrant professional prints. Again, great for photographers and crafters alike. It's also super fast and can print A3 prints in just 90 seconds. Some other pros of this printer is that it has borderless printing, so invitations and prints go all the way to the edge of the paper. Lastly, it easily connects wirelessly or via Ethernet or USB. I have an unboxing video on my channel that you can check out that shows you exactly how to set up this printer and how to connect it wirelessly to the internet. Let's talk about some of the cons of this printer. The first is that it's pricey. Why? Because like I said, there are very few printers that can print this heavy of cardstock. And because of that, this is kind of a diamond in the rough and worth the price if you're printing a lot on heavy cardstock. Another con is the price of ink. This also is fairly expensive. Now, I do typically get the knockoff ink, which I'll link below, that works perfectly fine. But if you talk to a rep at Canon, they're going to tell you it's not recommended. So use it at your own risk. I have never had a problem given that I had the earlier version version of this printer, the Canon Pixma Pro 100, and it lasted over a decade with the Knockoff ink. One thing I want to point out is that this printer doesn't print as small as business cards. That is a question I get a lot on my channel, and so I thought I would just mention it. Another con of this printer is that it doesn't print front and back simultaneously, so keep that in mind when purchasing this one as well. And lastly, it doesn't scan or copy. If that is a high priority for you, then this is not the right printer for you, or you need to get several printers for your different needs. So who is this printer for? As you can tell by the price, it's probably not for your everyday printing needs. If you're just printing out paperwork or reports, you absolutely don't need to spend the money on a printer like this. This printer is definitely for someone who is printing thicker, heavier, or more professional prints on the regular. It's great for business owners, photographers, artists, DIY crafters. There are so many possibilities with a printer like this to do fun and beautiful projects at home. So like I said, I highly recommend this printer, but if you have questions, let me know in the comments below, and make sure to check back regularly as I add more videos about what this printer can do and answer all your questions. I'll see you soon.